I remember Reverend Eckert coming, Donald Eckert, coming to the house. I just moved here in 1957 on East Texas Boulevard.
Reverend Eckert came around and talked to everybody in the neighborhood, and we were interested.
He went by in his Renault with an open roof on it and was there as soon as moving vans pulled away. He pulled up.
And he came and invited us to the church. And my son was 2 years old at the time. I said, well, I get taken to a local church.
Of course, it was supposed to be built across the street from our house, too.
And when this was proposed, well, we thought this would be the better place for us near our home, and so our children would be involved in the work of the church.
Well, it was the new church, and where we were was a very traditional church, and we always felt like we should be second or third generation anyway. So this way we were starting out fresh for finding a new church family.
At the time, we weren't active in a church, so we were looking for something, and it sounded interesting.
I thought joining a church was more convenient.
It's really convenience, really, that it was something new, and we liked Eckert when we had heard him at when we held the services at his home.
That's when we had the services up at the parsonage on East Texas Boulevard. We used to crowd about 50 people in there. It's amazing.
Oak Church fulfilled what we were looking for as a family church.
And I still remember Donald and Ruth Holden singing on the choir there.
Well, both of us have sung in church choirs since we were teenagers.
Donald had the same dirty jokes, funny jokes, really funny.
All the Sunday school classes and everything met in that home, and we really were bursting at the seams. It was unbelievable. The first Bible school had 100 children, and on the driveway and in every room of the house, and it was very...
We had a very nice group of people, strangers coming together, and we had a lot of fun, we had a lot of good times, but we worked hard, burned a lot of midnight oil.
We started all these different programs from scratch. And they seemed to be well accepted in the community and in the church.
And at that time, I was on the consistory, and I was property chairman, so I had the key to the house. Anyway, I would go up after work sometimes and set up for a meeting or something like that, and I'd go in the side doors. Well, unknown to me and unknown to Pat, she came down the steps, went into the garage in her bra, and so forth. And I walk in the door, and here poor Pat comes out to go up the steps, and there I am. And she darted up, and I went home.
I started teaching Sunday school in the parsonage kitchen. And then over at Cedar Crest, I taught in the art room.
I remember teaching Sunday school at Cedar Crest in the dressing room with mirrors, with all makeup mirrors along the whole wall. And that was really some difficulty keeping those children from just sitting there making faces in the mirrors.
Time at Cedar Crest when Reverend Eckert had an easel with a blank sheet on the front, and as he walked toward the easel to deliver the sermon, he was going to be using some pictures, his little son piped up, "Here comes the clown."
You know, a lot of times you think, ooh, are we gonna do it, but we did it.
And then, of course, while we were at Cedar Crest, their son was born, the next son was born, the day that we were signing the charter, and they came in with the good news to tell the minister that Pat had just given birth to Peter, I guess it was.
When we bought the land, it was $4,000 an acre. A couple years later, it's $16,000 an acre.
I mean, then when you had a committee of 12 men, like I had as property chairman, you called them up to come up here and paint or something. They were there, really.
I think most of the interesting stories would be as how we worked together, starting it and did everything. And I still have a little square box that the children used to sit on in Sunday school.
to call we were in the process of naming the church, and Reverend Eckert wanted us to call it the King's Highway Church because we're near to the old road that they used to use to deliver, to run from Philadelphia to town in Illinois. But at the time there was a ship of hope that you did a lot of medical things for people around the world. So I thought, hope, Church of Hope, that would go good. And that the congregation voted for that, and Reverend Eckert never forgave me. Not that I had an original idea there, but I thought it had a nice ring to it. I thought that would go good. Of course, I never thought of hope and charity and faith and that everybody else would jump in.
I think we had difficulties in the beginning because of the great diversity. However, when we were able to supply, I think, a lot of the needs of the people, like when the nursery school came into being, which was a big help, and that helped. And then getting this ground, which was a big change in the actual being able to build the church.
In those days, we had glass communion cups, and we didn't have a kitchen. And I washed glass communion cups in a dishpan on the counter in the janitor's closet.
Formed a scout troop here. And at that time, I was chairman of the committee, and we had a great council under that, 12 fellas, George Olson for one I remember. But anyway, and Bob Jones. And what I liked about that was it was a very active group. We'd do a lot of camping, go up the mountain. But everything that went wrong with the church, they blamed on the Boy Scouts.
You know, at that time, the elders would pour the wine, and they would put the wine in the chancel for the minister. And a couple of the elders, one that was pretty close to me, thought they'd play a little trick on him, and they put quite a lot of wine, and you're supposed to drink it in one swallow, and he was quite surprised when he had about that much wine in the chalice.
I remember when the guys picked his Volkswagen up and put it on the pavement.
There were a lot of social times that were here too that I think were good for church community. Like we had square dances, and we could move, because we could move all the chairs in the auditorium. The church auditorium was used for many purposes.
Picnics we used to have. I remember one member broke his ankle sliding into first base at a picnic. That was a disaster. I remember we were playing softball game, and Elaine's Rook's younger sister was playing third base, and I hit a smash down the third base line and hit it right in the side of the head, and that killed the ball game.
Well, we had a lot of good times. Instead of having a men's group and a women's group, we had the Guild, which was the women's group, and the Brotherhood. So that gave us the acronym GABS. And we formed a lot of good friendships. I think it was a very close group of people.
Oh, we had some real good lawn festivals. I don't know, maybe it grew too big. It got too hard to handle, I don't know, but it was a lot of fun. We did a lot of things.
Well, it's what I think we would have expected to grow, both in the congregation, and the building would have to grow with it. And the original plans were for the additional buildings that we would be putting up. So we started with the main room being the sanctuary and the fellowship room, and developed it from there.
Still waiting for that big church we were going to build under this end here.
The strengths? Well, the people, of course. If you don't have people that can communicate with each other and enjoy being with each other, you don't accomplish anything beyond that then.
I do think community, a strong church community, very friendly, I like the informality of it. I think that has a great deal to do with the closeness of the congregation.
It has a friendliness and an openness to the church.
Well, there's a lot of camaraderie, I think, between the members.
I think Oak Church is a lot what I expected it to be. It still feels like a friendly and a warm gathering place. We've had difficulties over the year and controversies, but in the end, I think everybody really pulls together.
I'm not sure we got a history yet.